My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. I just want to show you the U.S. military that is exhibiting severe mental instability. They're engaged in what is referred to as psychopathic pacing. On the Ontario International website, it is showing that departures are as of 6:15 a.m. The U.S. military are using the commercial airline companies, which are the people of the state, gang stalking me in furtherance of murdering me, with the homosexual psychopaths who are, before the crack of dawn, stalking me in planes and keeping me and my device under surveillance, which is why they are outside of what's even site, stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library, the Ontario Senior Center, in concert with the demons at the Page One Cafe. And you will see the heightened frequency of commercial planes that are flying right here, stalking me, one plane after another. And this is getting to the city of Ontario, the corrupt public entity that's gang stalking me with the U.S. military. This is why Mike LORENZ is going to prison. He is a puppet targeting with the military. He is doing so with the Ontario International Airport that's being shut down, and the entity is doing so, like you can see here, second by second by second, which is distinct from what I'm showing the entity is engaged in. The U.S. military are engaged in what is criminal activity, and this is based on its instability. They are demons. All right, these are the airlines that are going to be prosecuted for targeting. The entity's not headed to a destination stalking over here, and not headed to a destination doing cartwheels in alignment to me either. This is the U.S. military that has incriminated the people of the state that are going to be federally prosecuted as terrorists engaging in treason with the United States government as well. All right, this is P.O.C. I wanted to get video because you'll see the images. It's 6:19 a.m. So the 6:15 a.m. Departure from the Ontario International Airport is not that which is occurring over the Ontario Senior Center, hovering, creating any sort of activity, just like I'm not going to hear planes taking off from the airport at the giant dollar value store at 208 West G Street, which coming from the same airport are not going to share being over the Senior Center and then somehow being heard at that giant value store at north of Euclid Avenue, excuse me, north of C Street, which is where I'm at, Euclid and C. That's at Euclid and G, inside of a shopping plaza. This is the military that's gang stalking. I just want to be clear. Everything I've been documenting about the cities throughout the state of California, when I'm in Nevada and the entities maintaining the pattern of conduct under the fake sun, the United States military, the U.S. government are the mentally ill, and their homosexuality is directly relevant. It is humorous that they are engaging in what is perverted conduct, and they associate that with what is being elite. And I'm showing you how asinine, how idiotic, how obvious, how flagrant, and how foolish their conduct is. And this is the United States military that are murderers and sex offenders. And that's what's relevant regarding their homosexuality and the absence of any magical character regarding their blatant criminal activity. Their homosexuality is directly relevant to their mental illness because they're associating perversion, their sexual activity with, first of all, targeting me, and also what is the inability to be shown as the blatant criminals that they are, meaning they're practicing witchcraft, and their witchcraft is failing them. The entity is going to be committed. This is the P.O.C. This is the United States military using what are military aircraft, smaller crafts now. The same criminal pattern of conduct. This is where the commercial planes are engaged in this, and this is over who is being removed from office. Polyon, okay, targeting an American citizen with the United States military and further into murdering me, doing so for money as well. Okay, aware of what Mike LORENZ is engaged in and aware of what the United States military, in fact, providing resources for the U.S. military to do it. This is relevant to the mental illness of the entity, which is the U.S. military, the criminal pattern of conduct of the U.S. government, targeting me in Ontario, California, at 6:22 in the morning. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is documentation of Securitas engaging in the same conduct as Leo at nightfall, engaging in molestation with engineered light as frustrated demons that are being prosecuted. And this is the conduct of the U.S. military. You're going to pay attention to this engineered light right here. It's impossible light activity. And as this demon, you're looking at this small spotlight. So as she turns the corner over here, a tremendous amount of impossible light activity, the impossible light activity that's occurring inside of buildings when the people of the state, demons, are crossing path under the fake sun. That's the level of light activity. And she's hiding the mop on her head. She's hiding her face while Securitas is engaging in that sex offense. They're doing so with Page One Cafe that are monitoring, and this is where the entity is gang stalking. Operation for a device. She is gang stalking. She's doing so with the U.S. military. This is indeed P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that while the entity keeps the fake sun, and this is where the U.S. military is targeting with the commercial planes right here. Securitas is a sex offender, and so are the employees. Leo's going to federal prison, and Leo's doing the same thing at nightfall. This is P.O.C., and this is all illness. Okay, severe mental instability, light activity, doing also, I'm showing under the fake sun that's here where she's engaging in it. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct that I'm showing you in the middle of the afternoon, also in the evening, same positioning, including inside of the library. And as you'll pay attention, while I'm documenting the mentally ill that are gang stalking, they conduct themselves as though nothing is happening. You're not saying anything. You're not there while they're monitoring you. Okay? This is P.O.C. She's actually pacing while she walks around to the vehicle. This is psychopathic pacing like the U.S. military. They're sharing mental illness, are pacing in planes. P.O.C. It's currently 6:38 a.m. This is the city of Ontario. Page One Cafe sharing in that sex offense. They're engaging in that while they are hostile. Because I'm documenting, I'm publishing, the sex offenders engage in that. Just like I documented a giant dollar last night in the parking lot. What do the demon possess that are monitoring you, demons that stalk with light, engage in when they are hostile, like they are to me because I'm prosecuting and exposing them and discerning and telling everyone. They engage in acts of sexual violence such as molesting and harassing you with engineered light. They're going to be prosecuted as mentally ill and violent sex offenders. This is P.O.C. It's currently 6:39 a.m. Alright, here's the U.S. military gang stalking at the Ontario City Hall, which is what they've been doing the entire time. I just walked feet away so you could see. Securitas is surrounding with light activity. At what is the intersection, you see the City of Ontario driving right in the path. This is demonic, that ongoing precision regarding stalking with light. And that is Griffith at Plum and what is Holt Boulevard. And you'll see the images that I took right here. City of Ontario, 2 puppets. City of Ontario gang stalking. This is the Ontario City Hall right here, where the U.S. military is very much engaged in the pattern of conduct with the employees of the Ontario City Hall. Doing so with a communication devices crossing path is what this is. The entity has the fake sun, where they're engaged in what is keeping this fake sun from sunrise until sunset. I've also shown you the fake moon over me at the Ontario City Hall. This is the entity that's stalking by the Ontario Police Department daily and nightly at the Ontario City Hall, and doing what is no flight to any destination, no planes flying over this location, over this sky space, certainly not doing cartwheels from the Ontario International Airport at 2500 Airport Road, 2900 Airport Road, where they are engaging in any flight to a destination. This is Ontario City Hall engaging in that pattern of conduct, aware of the ongoing terrorism that I'm subject to. Pollyanna is not ignorant that I'm being targeted. The fact that I'm targeted is not a question. There's no controversy. I'm showing you why and how Pollyanna is going to be the basis of prosecuting any terrorists, those that are targeting in concert with the United States government, like Pollyanna, the city of Ontario, is in California. It is currently 8:28 a.m. The entity's keeping the fake sun here. It's right here under the sky space because this is where I'm at. So as I move, so does the specific environment, and so does the entity. All right, the entity are full of multiple faces, and it's the same entity, okay? Because they share the same pattern of conduct. So that is the entity that is stalking me as though it's the same person, because the same entity is engaging in that same pattern of conduct in that environment. And that's how you're getting to a pattern of conduct, which is tantamount to one person stalking an American citizen. When the government is doing it, the entity is sharing a pattern of conduct, and the pattern of conduct is demonic. This is why you have the U.S. military, a bunch of homosexuals doing cartwheels over me at a government venue where the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct in that specific environment. It's currently 8:29 a.m. This is P.O.C. You'll see the people of the state that are already aware that they're being documented because they're gang stalkers. So that's why you see the people holding their hood down, covering up his face. He's a regular serial stalker at the Ovid Family Community Library. He drives a burgundy SUV I've documented before, and he is stalking while the entity is flying over the scene that he is walking out of at the same time at 9:04 a.m., where again, flying over the Ontario City Hall as well. This is literally the criminal activity of the City Hall that's underway both while Pollyanna is in that office and not inside of that building, excuse me. This is the pattern of conduct speaking to the people of the state that are focused on me while you're covering up your hood, while you're walking out. That is relevant to targeting. That knowledge, while you are engaging in that, with regard to anticipating, this is a homeless, unattractive, third-party old man that I'm certainly not checking out. I'm not taking pictures of him because I think he's so fine all the time. So this is somebody that has no reason whatsoever to believe at the outset that I am focusing on him. But this is what an entity is doing because they know that they're being documented, because they're gang stalking. This is also knowledge that's already proven by virtue of the fake sun, by virtue of the entity that is gang stalking with light. This is P.O.C. That's the Ontario International Airport, where I am at what is the Ontario Civic Center. So typically I'm sitting at the side of the Ovid Family Community Library. I'm still looking at the Ovid Family Community Library, but I'm at a vantage point where you can see the military flying over the City Hall. You can see the City Hall. You could see the entity stalking with light, because I want you to see that, because the gang stalker that is going under a deceptive misnomer such as a mayor, Pollyanna is no mayor. This is a treasonous betrayer of the U.S., engaging in what is conspiring the murder of an American citizen in concert with the domestic terrorists who are the people of the state. All right, this is someone, in other words, that hates this country and hates American citizens and targets them with the enemies that are the U.S. military, using commercial airline companies to do so. Okay, that's P.O.C. and it's currently 9:05 a.m. All right, I have documented such corruption and cowardice before, but I'm going to go ahead and explicitly stated in this evidence with regard to what it is that I am, upon reviewing my evidence, which is my intellectual property, that the United States, the U.S. military, the cowards that are stalking as though they don't have anything to fear, are also going back behind and trying to delete and cover up and conceal evidence. Those are the homosexuals that are doing cartwheels in the commercial planes, and the demons that are gang stalking pacing all around at the Ontario Civic Center right now, the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct, obsessively engaging in it, and also at the same time terrified regarding the level of evidence that I have. And that's what I want to get to while I'm reviewing my evidence on the venue of the internet. The cowards have gone through regarding evidence captured in 2024 after my forced resignation. That's not a voluntary resignation from employment. And also being a property manager altogether at speaker companies, where the speaker companies is nothing other than a corporate entity that engages in what is hiring American citizens like myself to conspire to murder them. And that's why everybody that I documented, the speaker company personnel, the corporate office, that they're going to prison. And this is already on the record, the entity keeping the fake sun. And this is also prosecuting Paul Leon. What is over the city hall while I am at this venue, while it's at sunrise until sunset, remaining over me at the Alvarado Gardens Apartments, where I am the property manager, where I am being gang stalked by LAPD and the city of Los Angeles that's gang stalking at that apartment complex. This is the specific environment where the U.S. military are engaging in that pattern of conduct, and it's exclusive with regard to what is the natural environment, and it is preclusive regarding that there would be any sun over the city hall in the natural environment. But this is the natural environment, and these aren't natural human beings. These are demons, and it's a demonic pattern of conduct. And the demon possessed are highly unintelligent. Okay, so you have what a high level of obsession, high level of corruption, high level of what is delusion and addiction to that which they're typically accustomed to getting away with, but a low level of what is adjusting to circumstances as you are apprised of them, and then strategically maneuvering. This is supposed to be the U.S. military, right? But I'm capturing absolute asinine behavior by those that are acting as though they've never had a day in an academy or training on how to engage in what is supposedly warfare, where I'm capturing blatant and foolish, obvious criminal conduct where there's no controversy regarding whether I'm actually being targeted. And moreover, you know exactly who it is, because I've already proven that as well. And the entities also engaging in this moreover while they are removing my evidence off the internet, and that's my point. In 2024, after a forced resignation, this upon what is gang stalking me and unsuccessfully doing so, and I resign and I take all my property, put it in my vehicle, and I go about my business, going from hotel to hotel, where I also documented the pattern of conduct. And the pattern of conduct, keeping the fake sun over every hotel that I stayed at for the duration of the day, remaining over my vehicle as I'm on the U.S. highways, the state highways, excuse me, and the entity engaging what is keeping that fake sun in the same way that they are over the Alvarado Gardens Apartments, and then over me at every hotel that I remain in, and on every freeway as I travel from place to place. And then as I return to Ontario, then it planted itself over Tracy Banks's apartment, Unit 51, from sunrise until sunset, where the Ontario police have realized what is literally the disbanding for treason. Okay, gang stalking me under a fake sun. That's because there's only one sun. There is not two that would be over Alvarado Gardens. And that's the prosecution of Dominic Choi and Mike Lorenz and Michael Dorsey, Marcelo Blanco, Darren Goodman. And I can go on, okay? The entities engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while removing my evidence of what I captured in Orange County in 2024. These are the cowards that are so nauseating, while they're doing backflips and cartwheels and commercial planes, and that's military. Those are the military. That's the military gang stalking in commercial planes. The entities engaging in what is removing my evidence, and that's what I'm observing. And this is relevant to criminal activity. The entity that's going to prison for gang stalking me is not getting out. They're engaging in this conduct while they have they're not getting away with it. It's not going to happen, but you're going to be prosecuted for the intent, for the criminal activity in furtherance of that failed endeavor, and the ongoing obsession, the ongoing impunity that I documented. All right. While you are engaging in it, now you're just doing it. And this is the U.S. military. OK, people, the U.S. military is embarrassing itself while shown to be defeated by a little old woman like myself. Never had a day of training in any academy. Nor do you have to when you know Christ Jesus, and Satan has the audacity, the gall. In other words, he's foolish enough to try to bring his homosexual sex rituals to contend with the Holy Spirit. Okay, them and their homosexual activity will be put on blast. Everyone will know what it is that you do and why you failed so miserably in trying to target somebody whom you should have left alone in the first place. And that's why you're going behind and trying to delete my evidence, which is a federal charge. Okay, the entity is removing the none of it's not removing the evidence. However, anything that including when they steal it and destroy it.
Okay, Michael Moore is gang stalking me in Los Angeles in 2020, and I had spectacular video evidence of 3 helicopters in the sky space over me. They were treating it like it was World War III when I went to Los Angeles at the Union Station. The entity destroyed that evidence. The entity destroyed what is written documentation of my travel in my vehicle, in my Toyota Camry, before the city of Ontario stole it. And stole everything that was inside of my vehicle, by the way, but it included evidence that was written down, evidence that they're fearful of, while they continue to gang stalk me further into murdering me. So this is a very threatening conduct, very threatening actor, rather. I'm going to take this evidence because I'm going to continue to stalk you until I'm able to choke the life out of you, until I'm able to stab you 72 times, until I'm able to blow your brains out. But I want to take this evidence because I don't want you to have that on the record while you're engaging what is maintaining documentation that I'm fully aware that you are keeping. And I don't care. I'm going to keep stalking you until I accomplish taking your life. That's a very violent threat, a very potent threat that the Ontario Police Department, the people of the state, the U.S. military are going to be federally prosecuted for. These corporate entities who are the people of the state, they're all being prosecuted for that together as one. And the entity is engaging in what is removing written evidence in the police encounters that I wrote out in 2018 regarding my travels in my vehicle when the U.S. military first initiated stalking me in the sky space. And under my impression, which goes to show that I am not paranoid whatsoever, I actually assumed that the U.S. military were there to help me. I actually thought it was the FBI. And I don't know how they do their investigations. And they probably never had someone report in the way that I had. And so I absolutely was open to the notion because I'm not going to dictate how the Lord is going to rescue me in this situation. And so I was fully under the impression that they were inconspicuously maintaining what is presence over my vehicle in Pomona, California, and doing so by plane and helicopter, and were looking for me to lead them around where I had observed and been subject to this pattern of conduct. Okay, and that's what I did. And they were stalking me, gang stalking me through Monrovia, through Azusa, through Chino, through all these cities, which I wrote out much of it. And the entity stole that evidence, destroyed it. It's removed from the written documentation. I have not ruined, lost, or gotten rid of any of my evidence. It's the entity that is still gang stalking, by the way, that has removed that. And that's also relevant to time in prison. The U.S. military, the entity that's engaged in Tracy Banks, the people of the state, the entity that's going to be compensating damages, this is all relevant to what you're going to be compensating for and how long you're going to prison. Enhanced prison terms. They're not getting out of prison. They're going to prison as terrorists, and they're not getting out. So the entity is engaging in what is removing merely the description so that you cannot find Costa Mesa Police Department when I'm at the Costa Mesa Police Department in Costa Mesa, California, with the address where you could see that fake sun over the top of my head at 12:34 in the afternoon. And then you would in your mind understand and remember that I am also at the San Bernardino Superior Court so-called Justice Center in San Bernardino, where the entity has the fake sun over the top of my head replete with helicopter activity at 12:34 in the afternoon during daylight savings time as well. The entity is engaged in that while they are keeping the fake sun over me, as you know, from sunrise until sunset, right here where I'm at, where the U.S. military are doing dips and cartwheels and in commercial planes over the Ontario City Hall, where the fake sun is remaining from sunrise until sunset. But not when I'm up in California. Marcelo Blanco is gang stalking me with helicopters up and down Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is over me at 6 p.m. at 8th Street and Euclid Avenue, at 3 p.m. at 314 North Euclid Avenue, and during the 9 a.m. hour at the Upland Public Library, where Marcelo Blanco is gang stalking me in helicopters, engaging in what are domestic terrorist acts, which is relevant for federal prison. He's a treasonous betrayer of American citizens. He's a threat. He's a psychopath as well. He's engaging in the pattern of conduct as demons, monitoring, like they're monitoring all of us in this country. That's what's relevant behind removing Costa Mesa Police Department, where you will not associate the fake sun and automatically identify that department, which is not helping. It's not removing the evidence. It's showing, moreover, the fact that it's absolutely true what it is that I have on the record. But you already know that. It speaks for itself. Satan is doing nothing other than corroborating my evidence, doing nothing other than confirming the truth of this message. That's all that Satan has the authority to do, is to lay down and take my foot on his neck. That's all he can do. So the entity is engaging in what is removing the description of my videos, which is efforts that I'm putting in to describe to you so you understand the significance of what you're looking at. And they're very threatened and fearful of it. Do not be deceived because you see these idiots still, and the idiots is exactly what they are. Don't be deceived, because you see these idiots still giving me video evidence every day of stalking by planes and helicopters and stalking with light, because it's not evidence that they're courageous and that they are in the right. Certainly nobody believes that. But or evidence that they even believe that they're getting away with anything. They are doing so while they are literally sobbing day and night, scared to death, horrified about how and what is going to happen to them, and also regarding prison and raids, because they know that it's coming, including the U.S., especially the U.S. military. It's their pattern of conduct. It's going to be in a military tribunal, and it's going to be a massacre. The entities engage in this conduct, and that's why they are engaging what is accessing my social media. That's the entity that's monitoring on the internet. And then engaging in what is removing, clearing out the description, where I'm writing out the address and the name of the venue, and you can see the time, and you can see what it is that I recorded, so that you can recognize the pattern of conduct. The entity that's demonic, that's monitoring you, that doesn't want you to know about the fake sun documentation, doesn't want you to know about what's surrounding you, doesn't want you to know about all the police departments that I documented throughout California. Okay? It doesn't remove it, but I'm going to make sure that I specifically state that in this podcast today, because that's what I discovered yet again. This is documentation in 2024. This is what I'm publishing on the internet, and this is not the end of it. The evidence is going to become even more detailed and even more full throttle, if you will, with regard to going through and adding more information to it. So this is the entity that's the tactic of a loser. You're literally losing, especially when you have been forced to. Now you're doing it because you're suicidal, because there's nothing to prove to a bunch of people who know you're going to prison. But this is what the entity is doing. You're not accomplishing anything while you're giving the prosecutor evidence, and that's what I am. I'm the prosecutor. I'm prosecuting the U.S. government for that which has never even been proven before, and they are continuously aiding in my prosecution of it by continuously stalking, instead of sitting down like somebody that has an inch of common sense. But they don't, and it's far too late for that anyway. But nonetheless, the entity is engaging in what is removing the descriptions, and that's based on criminal monitoring. And it's not removing the fact that San Diego Police Department are gang stalking me, as I'm documenting in August of 2024, while I go to the San Diego Police Department. And where is that sun? Because it's not over the Upland Public Library like I'm documenting yesterday, from morning until afternoon, as I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. As I'm showing you from morning until I step out at 6 p.m. and covering it up the next day does not remove that evidence, that supernatural evidence, that supernatural record of monitoring. So how could it ever be in San Diego? It's not just in San Diego, it's over me in San Diego. All right, that's the San Diego Police Department. And the entity that doesn't remove that because you wipe out the description. What it is, it's frustrating your efforts, those of you who are going through it, but that is temporary. The P.O.C. that is subject to tampering with, this is evidence that Jason Isaac Fields, that the federal government that's been supposedly investigating, while I remain dispossessed of my property, while I remain subject to gang stalking, while the entity still engaging what is harassing me, as though they have any authority under the law under any circumstances in the first place, which is a threat to kidnap me. And the federal government's sitting there watching. This is the entity that's claiming to be engaged in an investigation while that evidence is being tampered with. This is evidence that's useful for you, that you need access to right now. And I also need access to it as well. And this is the entity that's frustrating an ongoing investigation. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. That's the federal government that has filthy hands, that is not a hero, and that I will not be reconciling with. Those of you speaking about, no, none of it's happening. Treating me and my life, in this case, as though it is the Truman Show, and that you all are in a position to scrutinize what I do and how I do it, and I'm supposed to remain subject to a threat to my life until you surmise in your mind that I got it right, when you're the one that's a part of targeting. I'm sorry, that's not the message I'm getting from Christ Jesus at all, but it is coming to an end, and there will be no reconciliation with anyone having anything to do with it. But until then, this ongoing investigation remains underway, and those that are outside are staying outside, and you know exactly why you're outside. I'm even telling you while I'm in the course of this investigation, and you have been no help, no hero whatsoever. You know exactly who you are while I'm sleeping outside. You were not help when I've been outside since 2018, and you're no help in 2026. And you're no help with regard to what is the conclusion of this case. You weren't there, and you're not helping now. So I just want you know who you are as well. This is the entity, and there will be no reconciliation. We're not holding hands. There's no teamwork. There is nothing happening in the future. In the same way that you're not out here keeping my sleeping bag from getting rained on outside, there will be no reconciliation with that. We're not partying together. None of that is happening. Okay? I have to make sure that I'm covering myself while I'm out here documenting and being gang stalked myself. Don't forget that. And it's not a TV show, and it's not entertainment, and it's nothing for you to critique, because you would have been 6 feet under already. I just want to make sure that that's clear. The entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct. It's 9:22 a.m. Removing the content within my, the substance, with the details within the YouTube video, which is speaking to knowledge, knowing that they're being documented. A stalker that knows that you're accumulating evidence in order to enforce your rights. That's speaking to a whole other level of mental illness, besides the fact that there are a bunch of homosexuals that are doing cartwheels and stalking me around city to city in planes and helicopters and following me into bathrooms and doing so under it's not even a real natural environment. These are demons, and they are highly mentally ill, and it is a threat to national security, and it is happening where the city hall is located. Okay? That's speaking to everybody in that building being a cockroach. This is P.O.C. It's 9:23 a.m. on what is May 5th, 2026. Are you guys Ontario police? Hey! Are you guys Ontario police? They're gang stalking while the entity flies over by a plane right here. Took a U-turn. They're monitoring and ignoring at the same time. This is what they're doing while I'm also documenting, and they act like nothing's happening. These are the demons that are engaged in the pattern of conduct. Okay? They're doing so while the fake... Alrighty, they're engaged in the P.O.C, very much focused. That's the psychopathic disorder. They're doing so at the Ontario City Hall. It's 9:33 a.m. The entity has the fake sun over the Upland Public Library already by now. The entity's keeping it right here, gang stalking me, and they are very much the demons that are stalking by helicopters every day, with the U.S. military that just did a U-turn over the City Hall. You'll see in the image I just took right before I went into video, because the Ontario police just engaged in what is, again, another quote-unquote ambush, like they did with the fire department and the military flying over by smaller plane. The entity does a cartwheel right here, Amazon Prime, and a large commercial plane. The Ontario police coming by. This is the entity that's engaging what is stalking with the people. They're all paced. These are roaches going in all direction and stalking with light. The one with the mop on her head, that's Securitas engaging what is stalking with light, maintaining light activity. And as I'm talking to them, they don't hear anything. Right? They don't hear nothing. That's the entity that's gang stalking. Those are the mentally ill vagina monitors, very much focused on everything, including my body movements. And when addressing them, ignoring the entity's pattern of conduct is going to be used to have them committed. This is the P.O.C. The fact that the entity is stalking by planes is how you're looking at the Ontario police that are engaging in psychopathic behaviors while they're stalking an American citizen, and that's the department that's being disbanded. Just wanted to capture that. This is the entity that's doing so while they are demons that are engaging in that P.O.C as hostile minions. And so this is the entity that's conspicuously engaging in that surveillance. This is the fake sun. All right? You are, not only do you hear me, you're focused on me. And you're a psychopath, a maniacal one, while I'm addressing you, and you're walking away. And they do so because I embarrass them as I document them. P.O.C. All right, the video that you're listening to of the Ontario police who are obsessed with me, they are stalking. Ontario police are my stalker, and so is the U.S. military. A population of dead people, the demon-possessed, are stalking. And they are failing at. I've removed the illusion. They are not the people of the state within the confines of the Constitution. This is the domestic terrorists. The people of the state are engaged in conspiracy to murder. They're stalking, and they're engaging in treason and doing so with the U.S. military that is stalking. And so in the video that you listen to, and in the images that you'll see reflected on the Google Drive, because my evidence is chronological, and it is also appreciated in the aggregate, when you are looking at the fake sun that's over me right now during the 9 a.m. hour at the Ontario City Hall, you're mindful of what's already on the record. When I'm inside of the Page One Cafe of this Ovid Family Community Library during the 2 p.m. hour, after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 in the evening, and the fake sun is seen through the windows of this same corner of this building. I'm standing on the outside of the Page One Cafe doors. I'm on the inside purchasing food inside of that Page One Cafe, where those two employees are gang stalking me with the U.S. military and the psychopaths, the Ontario police, that are walking into it, ignoring me while they are stalking me in this environment. Those are psychopaths. Okay, the demon possessed, the U.S. military, homosexuals that are failing in witchcraft practices that have no effect on one that is going to prosecute you in Christ's name, the entity that's engaged in what is criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder in the specific environment, they have before now always relied upon their facial expression, what all the gang members agree on together, as they create and engineer circumstances and facts. This is an entity that is incapable of dealing with objective facts, and the objective fact is that the sun would not be still over me like I have already on the record, meaning this is mutually exclusive, which you also know because you can compare it to what's happening in LA. Okay, you could compare it, which I documented, you can compare it to what I have, like I stated, in Upland, California. The fake sun is over all the demons with their babies at 10 o'clock when I'm walking in. So what is over me at the Ontario City Hall? What is over me at the Ontario City Hall when I'm inside of this Page One Cafe at 2 in the afternoon and I'm capturing video of the fake sun? It's right there over me. It is the fake sun, but I'm capturing the light source that is. Let's not include the conclusion in that statement. What is it that's over me when I'm capturing the light source in the sky space? What would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 5 hours from now? What is that? This is an entity, and that would have been during before daylight savings time, which would make it during daylight savings time 3 o'clock, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. What is that? That's 5 and 6 hours from now would be over me at the same location, because it's not the natural environment, which is exposing everybody, including the psychopaths, the vagina monitors wearing Ontario police uniforms and gang stalking and not wanting to say a word while they're engaging in conspicuous surveillance. All right, this is the entity that's going to be prosecuted, whether they speak, all right, or whether they stay silent and take that defeat, that triumphant, humiliating defeat in silence, which you should. This is the entity that is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and it's not going to be based on who you think you are. I'm showing you who you are. You're nobody. You're not above the law. You're not even intelligent, and the game that you play that I am using against you. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm using their own tactics against them. And you can also see how triggered the demons are. They're triggered by their own tactics. Okay? The entity's engaging in the pattern and by their own tactics, meaning you're gang stalking me, you're not talking to me about it, right? It's not happening. It's all within the, oh, okay. Well, I'm in the same environment and I'm not documenting you and I'm oblivious to you as well. How about that? All right. Oh, now you're triggered and you're behaving like a paranoid schizophrenic, Satan. What is going on here? I thought that was supposed to be my role. What is going on? This is an entity that's triggered by its own. And so now you're engaging in what they typically enjoy. Hey, how's it going, while they're gang stalking you or harassing you, saying something hostile to you while they're walking by with a gun in their waist and a police uniform on. But not now. You're walking by in silence. You're still gang stalking, but you're walking by silently because I tend to humiliate you when you say something, anything to me, and you're gang stalking. So this is the entity that's, again, those are their own games. And all their games are winding them up in the same place. The reward is prison. Okay, it is currently 9:43 a.m. where the sun is never, under any circumstances, hovering over a building, let alone is it going to be over Paul Leon at the Ontario City Hall from 9 in the morning, 8 in the morning until after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, nor shall there be any circumstances where the United States is maintaining harassment and terrorism of an American citizen using commercial planes, using military jets, using helicopters, and terrorizing an American citizen that also has the presence of mind to document it like I have. You're going to be prosecuted, and it's not going to be evidence that's going to serve to defame that American citizen who has proven that you are mentally ill and that you are a thieving, maniacal psychopath and sex offender. That's a massive projection by the homosexuals of the U.S. military. This is P.O.C. It's 9:44 a.m.
What is happening in the world? Okay, because of that. Because of those, this happened. But this is not absolute answer. But because we are very limited in existence, nobody knows everything, and universe is huge. So this understanding helps us widen, getting more inclusive, more open mindset. I am very limited in existence. It's very humble. After encountering with God, Job became more humble. right, today we explore theology and two history views about evil. So Manichaeism and Augustine's viewpoint. Manichaeism is a dualism, God of evil, God of darkness, God of light. Augustine stands on monotheism. According to Augustine, what is the evil?
Absence of good.
Woo! Yes. Yes. Absence of good. Book of Job. God doesn't give a logical explanation to Job. God just gives God's pleasures. Honest wrestling is not faithfulness, it is faith.
So does that mean that questioning things is good? It's not necessarily. Okay.
It's good. It's
It is
good. Yeah.
It's, okay, so it's not, because I always question everything, so that is not a bad thing.
That's
Well,
appropriate attitude to deepen our faith. So, how can I say?
This is the entity that's stalking by helicopter. This is the second time, while you have Pastor Lee, and they're speaking about the depths of good and evil, while he epitomizes evil. This is the fake son over the Bethel congregation, and he's engaged in psychological torture right through these walls, which is relevant positioning. The fake son is over me, and it is currently 10:51 a.m. This is going on the podcast, and this is why I started recording while they're engaged in psychological torture, and that is the U.S. military. Just like on Sunday when I'm walking out of this same door, and the U.S. military had a jet with regard to tracking my steps, and the people of the state are stalking in this parking lot as well. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and while in the midst of what is a Bible study, these are demons. This is criminal monitoring. This is ongoing conspiracy to murder, and it's harassment and psychological torture with the state. 10:51 a.m.
G-O-D. People, humanity. What was God doing? Is there any other life over the universe created by God?
Probably.
They know Jesus Christ?
Could be.
Questions. I believe that is good thing for our healthy faith. All right, so any question, any comment? Next week, so we go further to see very up-to-date theological response to today's topic, the origin of evil. So next Tuesday, it might be very much challenging for you. So I'm going to introduce very much radical theological perspectives. But for sure, there is no absolute answer. There's no absolute answer. It's just introduction. So this is a history of theological debation. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay, any question? Any comment? encountering with God. Job cannot explain by his language, by his language. So very often we cannot describe the moment of how much we love our sons and our daughters. That feeling, that deep feeling, it is beyond our language.
This is P.O.C. Criminal summoning by the city of Upland. While they're engaging in harassment together, just standing in line, hoping that I don't say anything. You need my library card? Sure.
I sent it 3 times, man. You didn't get anything?
Thank you.
Is there someone else that can help me?
Maybe upstairs,
They
circulation.
told me to come down here and see you.
You could try it from the computer.
That's typically where we send emails from. This is Brianna, the entity that's gang stalking, doing so just like they are at Bethel Congregation. This is the entity that's engaged in what is targeting with the U.S. military now in the city of Upland, and this is because they're going to prison. That's the fake son, right there. He's coming in monitoring. This is P.O.C. That was helicopter activity. This is Brianna. Remember, let me see, what was it, 10 o'clock yesterday? And then in the afternoon with Elizabeth, the entity has the fake son remaining. It's currently, as I'm arriving after schedule today, 11:36 a.m., engaging in what is, again, the maniacal conduct by these psychopaths who go berserk as they're documented. This is the mental illness of the homosexuals that make up the U.S. military. Gang stalking with the people of the state and up in California. And the evidence is all going on the internet. As you can see, and sane people recognize, engaging in more criminal activity is not going to stop an ongoing in progress investigation and prosecution. These are maniacal psychopaths who need to be locked up in facilities where the demon possessed are going to be. This is Brianna. Yesterday it was Alan in the morning, gang stalking, fake son here, and Elizabeth, gang stalking, fake son still here. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is indeed helicopter activity that I'm subject to inside of the church. I'm in the giant dollar value store. I'm hearing plane activity. I'm inside of the library, helicopter activity. The entity's doing so while keeping things that are not natural, like the fake sun over me. And the entity engaged as I walk outside of the church, military aircrafts, helicopters that are interrupting even the church service while the pastor's trying to tell me about Jesus and the difference between good and evil while he practices evil before me. These are the demons that are gang stalking in the state of California. All right, and coming in and stalling here. That's what this was, stalling. Trying to prolong the ability to get a laptop while they're monitoring together. And as I ask a question to Brianna, who's a state actor subject to prison, then the helicopter activity begins. It's P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is the entity cutting me off where I have the right of way and flying over the top. This is the city of Upland gang stalking me with a minor child. License plate 9 Xavier 0 Henry 746. This is the entity that calls itself harassing you. The city of Upland is going to be under martial law, so that's their reward. They're being federally prosecuted as a population of domestic terrorists conspiring my murder with the U.S. military that's maintaining plane activity over me, terrorizing and harassing me with the demon-possessed vagina monitors, the people of the state, who are pathetic, don't have their own lives. They line up in traffic to be in my presence. That's how pathetic they are. This is the P.O.C. It's 7:22 p.m. The people of the state are being federally prosecuted so profusely because they don't have any manners. P.O.C. License plate 6LLG 793. This is a double chin. Looks like a Latina female. She wears glasses.
with shoulder length hair, sexual assault and battery, and the entity stalking the U.S. military that are stalking me from Upland, California into Ontario at what is the Gang Stalkers City of Ontario Ovid Family Community Library and Gang Stalkers Sarah's Regis Group Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments in concert with a demon with the flag that's going to be subject to martial law. The license plate 82742B4, I believe. Those are the demons that hate this country, and they go around showing the flag, just like those that assemble in churches and they say the name of Christ and they detest him. That's what's going around with the flag, as they hate this country, engaging in un-American conduct such as gang stalking, and doing so, making a statement because they know that they're being documented. Those are the domestic terrorists that are gang stalking the U.S. military that hates this country and hates American citizens, that are going around here, enemies amongst us, and using the American flag while they engage in war against us. Those are the treasonous vagina monitors that are going to be subject to martial law. This is P.O.C. And this is, again, relevant to the City of Ontario statement regarding threatening the United States of America. While I'm subject to the pattern of conduct in any city, you need to understand that it represents a threat to the Union. Okay, and these are sex offenders. These are psychopaths and homosexuals too caught up in their ineffective sex rituals to ever think about the implications with regard to the federal and state constitutions, because they are under no circumstances intelligent beings. These are demons. These are literally roaches. They're creatures that have been strategically put in position by Satan himself. And so they appear one way, and I'm showing you what they actually are. And they're hideous, and they're infected. All right. And they are literally a plague. They are a blemish. They are a disease to this country. But this is the P.O.C. arriving at the Ovid Family Community Library at 8:02 p.m. This is P.O.C.
Alrighty, this is Leo. This is Leo that's going to federal prison, the one that's routinely engaged in sexual assault and battery on a routine basis while representing Securitas, gang stalking and furtherance of murder, doing so while he's engaging in an ongoing pattern of harassment, and doing so in furtherance of the criminal pattern of conduct with the U.S. military, doing so while he is engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct on the job. He's doing so at the Ontario City Hall, and he's doing so just like his partner at the Ontario City Hall this morning under the fake sun while the U.S. military maintained plain activity. This is a coward. Okay, this is somebody who could easily be bashed into the sidewalk. But I'm going to prosecute. He's going to federal prison. Okay, his license plate is already on the record. His criminal acts with the Ontario Police Department are already on the record. And this criminal that's a sex offender that's engaged in what is monitoring while accosting, molesting with impossible light, which is the conduct of a psychopath, a violent sex offender that is targeting me with the U.S. military, is doing so while now driving away, running away. And that's exactly what he does when he's engaged in the sex offense while he gets off the job. I'm going to prosecute Securitas. I hope you're paying attention, because you're going to compensate me, Securitas, as a gang stalking third party, hiring sex offenders who are domestic terrorists in the U.S. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:04 p.m. This is an entity that's engaging in what is targeting me while I am at the Ontario Civic Center, where the U.S. military is stalking with a whole bunch of sex offenders who are the treasonous people of the state. And I want to be clear, Securitas, these corporate entities are sharing in treason, and they're going to be compensating American citizens in the way in which I'm going to show you how the U.S. military, the people of the state, are going to be federally prosecuted. It is not only a massive RICO, this is understanding the grounds upon what is federal prosecution for domestic terrorism, which is not a conspiracy theory. This is P.O.C. The government is going to be prosecuted for the lawlessness of the terrorists with whom they're targeting American citizens. This is the pattern of conduct. It's currently 8:05 p.m. This is criminal conduct that the City of Ontario is sharing in, that the mayor at the Ontario City Hall is sharing in, while I'm subject to discrimination, while I'm subject to hate speech, while I'm subject to threats, while I'm subject to federal stalking, while I'm subject to ongoing psychological torture by a commoner who's a sex offender gang stalking with the rest of them. Okay? The entities engaged in this conduct, and they are doing so while they are the cowards that are running away, like you're seeing on video. Okay? This is an entity that is at a distance hitting you with light and then speeding off, flying off, running off. These are cowards. And that's what Satan is. Okay, but this demon, he's going to prison, and he's going to be subject to what are commitments regarding you like stalking with light. That's mentally ill behavior. That's certifiable conduct. And it is the evidence of what is essentially diagnosing by prosecution. Okay, this is P.O.C. Look at this right here. I want you to see this is pacing. This is pacing. You see how they're in a line? They're pacing. These are demons, and it's a family of them. They're all dead.
And this is criminal activity by the U.S. military. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 8:06 p.m. This is where the entity is stalking by commercial plane and by helicopter, where the entity keeps the fake sun and the fake moon. This is indeed gang stalking. P.O.C. This is called stalking in the path. And these are the consequences of the mentally ill being permitted to be in the United States military. Lawlessness in the states. Criminals that are calling themselves police departments. Criminals that make up a community. 9 Thomas Apple Victor 619. 7 Jerry Wendy Sam 935, driving around with no headlights on and then turning them on as light activity. Okay, this is the entity that's pacing around while the U.S. military hovering a commercial plane over 280 North Limit Apartments. And as I start recording, like the homosexual stalkers they are, 9 UTW 668 included, they cease flying over. Okay, those are cowards. You could see first of all, everybody could see all over my social media the hundreds of videos of the U.S. military stalking, including this morning over at the senior citizen complex at 6 o'clock in the morning, where old people are still sleeping. All right, they're still passed out from their prescriptions that they took. This is perhaps why they don't complain about the helicopter activity and the commercial planes from the airport that are flying outside of the zoning laws to be over a multifamily zone, where those that are over 55 are documented engaging in the pattern of conduct while the U.S. military hovers over that apartment complex, like I documented, 5, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and they're pacing around subservient to the U.S. military, who are the criminals engaging in what is the conspiracy to murder, okay? Those are the employees of Ovid Family Community Library. They're going to prison, all right? Every day I'm going to Fontana, I'm going to Pomona, I'm going to Upland. They're all going to prison. Okay, the entities engaging in this while the U.S. military has done nothing other than manifest what is they've done nothing other than manifest while you're looking at what is stalking. A concert with Ovid Family Community Library employees, by the way, just like when they're inside and they're pacing all around me in Engineer Light, the U.S. military are engaging in psychopathic pacing while the fake sun sits over here, and it's never in Upland, California. It's never in Fontana for Marcelo Blanco to fly circles around it over my head. Okay, the entities engaging in that together while they are demons pacing all around. So you're looking at what is the direct nexus behind what's going on the roads and the highways right here, and what's going on flying over a senior citizen complex in the specific environment. Okay, the specific environment, which includes such as this, that has multiple shutters, one shutter going this way, this way, this way. This is the entity that's gang stalking. They're all stalking. And so is the U.S. military, using what are instrumentalities of the interstate commerce, which the people of the state are yielding to the U.S. government. And they're going to be federally prosecuted as terrorists for that. They're actually treasons. They're engaging in treason while they're engaging in that. And it's also what is a massive, epic RICO case. This is the P.O.C. And I just want to be clear. Only the mentally ill would in real time demonstrate the criminal activity that I was describing. Okay, that's why they just flew over, because that's what they were already doing. They ceased engaging in it, and only the mentally ill who are suicidal, who are going to federal prison, who are going to be prosecuted as domestic terrorists for treason, would engage in flying over in that overtly criminal and improper manner. Okay, this is no mystery here, and the U.S. government has already succumbed to a federal prosecution by an American citizen that they targeted. Okay, and they targeted me based on using their genitalia regarding homosexual activity, and they actually equated that with some sort of victory for those that are engaging in what is the use of witchcraft. And all you're looking at are demons that are stalking with impossible light, witchcraft that's going to have them placed where they belong, in mental institutions. Okay, that's what the people are getting, and this is what Leo is engaging in, stalking me with impossible light on behalf of the U.S. military, and he's going to prison as I'm capturing the U.S. military gang stalking me. Leo is going to federal prison. This is impossible light activity. Leo is going to federal prison. Okay, this is a terrorist that's engaging in that while engaging what is stalking, not security. And this is a demon that's monitoring and is engaging on a documented pattern of harassing me with his demonic tactics while the U.S. military is stalking me in furtherance of murder. Okay, that is, in other words, never before contemplated level of damages. This is the dunces that are engaging in what is criminal activity together. This is the living dead that have manifested what is absolute ruin and proof for the rest of the world to know, if you ever doubted, that not only is Satan real, he is a spirit, but he has minions who are demon possessed, and they are the living dead. They are hellbound. You're talking about those that are born to die, and it's an unfortunate reality. Okay, in the same way, they are gang stalking to be prosecuted, because there is no success, no victory whatsoever. They are engaging in that which they are ordained to do, which is to engage in targeting me, and I'm engaging in what is prosecuting them, because there is no route to victory, and they have no point in what they're doing, sitting around stalking me all day and all night. This is P.O.C. This is Open Family Community Library. Gang stalking. All right. This is 8:21 p.m. This is a stalker, and this is the U.S. military stalking with the people of the state. All right, where there are no planes taking off from the airport over here, and this is the entity that's also doing so while they're stalking with light. These are the demons that also go into the bathrooms, engaging what is vagina monitoring. These are weirdos that are obsessively stalking on behalf of the government. This is the entity that's engaged in federal stalking and furtherance of murder as well. And they engage in conspiring your murder right in your face, which is why the entity is going to be prosecuted with martial law. This is P.O.C. And everything that they say is coming out of the mouth of the U.S. military that's going to be federally prosecuted. This is also the mentally unstable population who are violent sex offenders, stalking you with light, stalking you with noise, and lurking around like late at night like now. It's currently, by the way, 10:38 p.m., where this isn't a man, but this is a male that is stalking a woman in the middle of the night with the government that's, again, facilitating it, approving it. All right, targeting in concert with it. All right, and this is, again, locally speaking, Michael LORENZ is going to prison for it. All right, but this is the entity that's engaging in that. And as I approach this stalker, the entity flies over my head by plane. That's the concerted conduct. And is doing so like a predator, like a sex offender, waiting for me to go where they're stalking all night long, where it is that I lay down. Okay, that's the entity that's conspiring murder. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:39 p.m. This is the entity that is, again, engaged in treason. This is terrorism in the U.S. While the entity conspires the murder of American citizens and does so regardless of whether you're a woman, and does so regardless of your age, and they're doing so with a level of impunity that is relevant to civil and criminal prosecution. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 10:39 p.m. Alrighty, this is indeed the U.S. military that is targeting me, now doing cartwheels in alignment with the positioning of my person at the same Ontario Town Square, where a sex offender is engaging in surveillance on behalf of the U.S. military. This is the U.S. military that's going to be federally prosecuted. The U.S. government is going to be prosecuted, engaging in treason. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in terrorism, and doing so, this sex offender is going to be put on X and on Facebook and on Threads regarding the unlawful threat posed by the U.S. military that is engaged in terrorism in the U.S. in concert with the people of the state who are domestic terrorists. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently, like I stated, 10:42 p.m., and the entity is engaged in what is psychopathic pacing, focusing on where I'm located while they're engaging in their cartwheels and engaging what is crossing path by flying over the Ontario Town Square and doing so in sync with my movement. While this demon crosses path with me, the demons fly over my head, just like in Upland, California, where they are blocking my path as I'm walking, having the right of way, and the U.S. military are stalking by flying over the top of my head, doing so while the fake sun is setting at 7th Street in Euclid in Upland, California, which is the same street where the entity kept the fake sun over me this morning at the Ontario City Hall. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that. This is indeed a sex offender that is preying upon a woman, and I'm putting his image all over the internet. This is the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted for it. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:43 p.m. This is a co-conspirator of murder and a violent sex offender. P.O.C. Okay, I want to show you the significance of this mysterious, strange male stalking. That's what he's doing under the law on behalf of the U.S. military that are stalking me by commercial planes. And as I document and put that on X, which what any prudent person, any prudent victim of these homosexuals, the U.S. military, who are molesting with impossible light, lurking around the corner, driving in circles and flying in circles, stalking like unstable, vagina monitoring psychopaths who wear diapers and do not go to sleep because they're engaged in 24-hour psychotic means of surveillance. This is an entity that has to start going around in circles when I start documenting, because this is what you're looking at. This is what's going to be relieved from having any part in the U.S. military, what's being relieved from having any part in law enforcement. These are demons who are very much suicidal, very, very much unstable. Okay? This is referred to as psychopathic pacing. And I maintain a body of evidence that is a playlist on social media regarding very serious and very threatening behavior that is a threat to the public. This is the population of demons engaging in criminal activity regarding severe mental instability from prolonged practices that are, let's just say poor, very bad for their health. Okay, this entity's been playing in dark spirits. This entity's been playing in drug use. This entity's been engaged in what is corrupt practices where they're accustomed to getting away with lying. That also has an ongoing impact, a cumulative impact on the mind that becomes deranged, believing your own lies, believing that which is never true, never was going to be true. And you're talking about the entity that's engaging, and you resort to flying in circles once you become triggered by my documentation. You need to understand how much of a threat this is and how much this must be isolated from the rest of the American public. This must be isolated from the rest of the American public. This is highly unstable, and this is illustrative of the entire population. Understand, this is demon possession. This is the P.O.C. And this was also having the audacity to sit next to me, stand in front of me, in order to force me to be in that path. That's why the U.S. military is being prosecuted as treasonous betrayers of the United States. They are the reason why you have a bunch of homosexuals calling themselves an Ontario Police Department. And they are the reason, these homosexuals that are not engaged in law enforcement, are why you have a population of mentally unstable light slingers, gargoyles, also practicing homosexuality and pedophilia and bestiality. Doing things like stalking 24 hours a day, stalking in bathroom stalls, going into the grocery store to crouch in aisles. This is the entity that is highly unstable, and this is requiring what is isolation from the rest of the American public for the protection of the American citizen. Okay? That's what's behind this psychopathic behavior. That is not traffic, they're pacing. They're all pacing. They are all listening to me at the same time. And you're aware of that by where's the entity stalking by planes? Right here. Where's the entity engaging in yet another episode, another psychological episode, a breakdown, flying in circles over and over and over again. They're not well. And this is what is murdering people all across the globe. The entity, the U.S. military, have been paid to try to sacrifice me. And what they have done is sacrifice themselves. They've sacrificed their secrecy. They've sacrificed their reputation for being elite, for being capable, for even being competent, for even being sane. They are none of those things. They are unhinged, maniacal, psychotic, perverted, demonic. And they are headed for what is a military tribunal, prosecuted as enemies of this country, and they are engaging in what is aiding in the disbanding of agencies that are enemies, treasonous, like the Ontario Police Department. This is the P.O.C., and this is highly unstable conduct, and this is going to be illustrative of how you're recognizing mental illness and the corrupt system of gang stalking throughout the country, also around the globe. Okay? This is the P.O.C. These sex offenders, while I'm over here minding my business on my device, they're molesting me with impossible light. They are acting together. It's not separate. They share in terrorism together, and this is treason. It is a direct violation of Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution. This is levying war on American citizens, on this country. And it is absolutely helpful to our enemies, since we now know that the military is full of a bunch of unstable homosexuals relying on Satan and witchcraft. And they can't even work themselves out of a hamster box. They can't stop spinning in circles. They're unstable, and they're going to be permanently sat down. They're going to be put in facilities where they belong. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:08 p.m.